rise and remove your hats while the national anthem is sung tonight by Winamac senior Danny Joe Roush.
Welcome to RTC TV4. This is Tim Gearhart with my partner tonight, Gary Pratt, as we're getting ready to watch the Winamac Warriors take on the North Newton Spartans here in Winamac. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the offer to come and join you guys.
Absolutely, yeah.
This is pretty cool.
Tonight's crossovers, here we go.
These kind of matchups should just get you pumped up when you get the spotlight on you like this.
Yeah, oh, that's fantastic.
Raquel Cunningham, 113, double forfeit, 120. For Winamac, Jake Armstrong. For North Newton, Alex D'Amiglio.
These guys wrestled this past Saturday at the Twin Lakes 16
These two
weight.
kids did?
Yes, they did. Jake came out on top on that one.
It's a pretty tight match.
It was. Up until the third period, Jake hit a pretty good move in the third period and ended up pinning him, but it was a good match up to that point.
Brendan Day for North Newton, forfeit. 138. Winamac, Roy Lavender. North Newton, Ribbon Stevens. At 145 for Winamac, Brody Roth. For North Newton, forfeit.
Now, Gary.
152, Tyler T.P. Perry. For North Newton, Elijah Durlow.
Now, Gary, tell me a little bit about the Winamac program. So this is a pretty young club.
Very young. We have anywhere from 8 to 9 freshmen in our lineup each week.
Okay.
On a normal wrestling team, you'll have 14 high school weight classes that compete each meet, and out of that 14, to have 8 or 9 freshmen, that is truly a very, very young group that we have. But it's been a building program. These are the first group of gentlemen that have come out of our newly formed Warpath Wrestling Club that have 3-4 years experience in the sport, which is it's had its bumps, so to say, but growing pains, but very, very excited for where Winamac Wrestling is going in the future.
Okay. So wrestling, not unlike basketball or some of those other programs, if you don't have a strong youth program where younger kids are getting exposed to this early on, it's really difficult by the time they get to high school and face better competition.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. If you don't have 50 or 60 matches, actual live wrestling matches in before you get to the high school level, it's tough to catch up to those kids that have.
Gotcha.
And just like with anybody, if you got somebody that's out shooting 100 free throws every day after school, that's going to be your free throw guy, not the freshman that just walks in and hasn't shot a free throw since he's been alive.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Versus Matt.
This is one of our sophomores, and these two actually did not meet this past Saturday, so this ought to be an interesting match. Here, with the bigger guys, what they often do is they're fighting for inside position, and if they can stay out from underneath the other guy, normally the heavyweight or the bigger guy that gets caught on bottom will always have a rougher time because it's a lot to move those heavy bodies around.
Okay.
And see how they're always just constantly trying to fight for that inside position and get angles. Just like attacking somebody, you don't want to come right at their best defense, which is right in front of them. You want to come from an angle on the side. That's where they're weak at. A lot of this at the heavier weights are a lot of snapping the head down. You want to get the head under you to be able to use your weight as the advantage. And North Newton's actually doing a pretty good job of getting Dylan's head down and snap, which he should. Oh. Dylan goes in, tries to get a single leg, and there's no control yet until Dylan let go of the leg. Now there's control, so there's 2 takedown, 2 points for North Newton. And at this point, you can get 1 point on the bottom if you just stand up and get away from the guy, where he loses control of you. Dylan was in a good position to get that. All he had to do was get his head out from underneath, but he failed to do that and got returned back to the mat. So now he's got to start all over again. That takes a lot of energy. And when that weight gets on you, it is awful, awful hard to fight that. That takes a lot of energy out of your gas tank. I give him credit. He's fighting. Tough one there. He just got caught. He tried to reverse the throw, but his weight was too far off, and he just went over.
So, Gary, really, the start of that match, you knew right away with whoever got the head down, the weight on top of that out of the gate, all of a sudden the advantage, all the momentum swings to that other.
Oh, yeah, right off the bat. And now we go completely reverse when we go to the lighter guys. This is a battle of will. You got to get off to a side and really get an angle on these guys. It's not so much how you get on top because they just don't have – when you're only working with 105, 106 pounds, there's just not a whole lot of weight there. And this is one of our freshmen in our lineup, Philip Crippen. He's doing a nice job keeping his hips back. As long as he keeps his hips back, North Newton can't finish. We always teach the kids here to keep pressure on the back of their head and try to keep their head on the mat. If you can't see what you're doing, you can't win. Close. In high school, the rule on the out of bounds is there's got to be 3 points of contact out of bounds. And for a wrestler, both legs, both knees, arms, elbows, those all get out of bounds. Then a ref will normally call it out of bounds. You start up either neutral, up, down, depending on how control was. A lot of battles that aren't seen just right here are weight battles. This young man has battled to stay under 106 pounds on a weekly basis is not easy. He does get quite a few forfeits because it's tough to stay under 106, but it is a weekly battle to keep and maintain weight, and I do have to give him credit for doing that and be able to do that. It says a lot about a character when you fight and fight and fight just for a forfeit, but you've made weight. But it is still quite an accomplishment to fight all week long, make weight, and still get a win.
It's a lot of discipline that goes into wrestling that a lot of people don't think about.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is a good battle. You've got two wrestlers that are paired very, very similar in their wrestling styles. That's why there's a lot of movement, a lot of out-of-bounds wrestling. And we teach our kids all the time to circle. Never go forward, step back. It's always circle. Circle around your opponent because you definitely want to get angles on your opponent. You don't want to attack them from the front. You want to attack them from the sides. So, there you go. See, as long as he's got a hold of that leg, he hasn't lost control. There you go, still out. Now is when you start seeing frustration. The shaking the heads coming back to the center. It's frustration on the kid's part. They're trying to work so hard to get some kind of points, and it's just not happening. There we go. That's a single leg. Outside single because the head's outside. Saved by the bell. The coin flip, that would be red had first choice, so they could choose up, down, neutral, or they can defer to the second period or to the third period. He deferred, so he's going to actually take his choice at the beginning of the third period, thinking that he might need to choose up, down, neutral. And smartly, we choose down, so that way we have a chance to score either 1 or 2 points or get a pin from the bottom and not give up any kind of a takedown and have a chance to get out ahead in the match. Now, Winamac's done a nice job of getting out. Phillip has done a nice job of getting out here, keeping pressure on the head. He's up a little bit too high, so he can't tuck North Newton's head down underneath to be able to get behind and actually get a reversal, which is 2 points. And there we go. He got behind. He's got his 2 points. Now he's up 2-0. You can see always reaching back, trying to grab an ankle, a leg, trying to elevate that. Nice fight. That was a nice escape. Nice scramble situation. Really wasn't a move involved there. It's just where weights went off and just kind of a scramble situation, getting back up to their feet. North Newton's really good about staying on the legs and keeping the pressure on and not giving space for recovery time, we call it. But fighting down there on the bottom like that with your head on the mat, that's tough. That'll take it out of you come third period. He's got to keep spinning hard, spinning hard. Now see, that's a stalling call on Winamac because he didn't get up immediately and head back to the center of the mat. You take your time like that, the ref knows you're stalling, you're tired. If you stay down on the side, you better be hurt for some reason or you're going to get called for stalling. You get hit with a second stalling now, that's going to be a point to North Newton.
So the first stalling is basically a warning, but your second one, you're in trouble.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And this is where, if you've been cutting weight hard throughout the week and you've had a tough time getting down to your weight, this is where it takes it out of you.
Okay.
This is where your gas tank is on E and you're running on fumes. And we try to push, we want our guys to be mentally prepared and by Wednesday of each week be at your weight. So that way you can have good meals, you can have good nutrition throughout the week and not have to worry about trying to cut a half a pound before a match. And with us just coming from Twin Lakes 16 way this Saturday, we look pretty good coming into today.
There's an awful lot of strategy that goes into how much energy these kids have in their body, what kind of food they're eating, staying healthy.
There is. It's huge strategy. If you eat cheeseburgers and French fries and nothing but hot dogs all week long, you're not putting the good proteins, the good fats, the good nutrition in your body to use out here. This is a 6-minute battle. And to be able to come out here and in 6 minutes impose your will on somebody else, it takes it out of you. I don't care who you are. And you can see that at every level in the sport. Anybody that's not tired going into the third period is just not trying hard enough. All right, see ankle control. Phillip goes for ankle control, pick that up, try to prevent a stand-up, prevent an escape. Being up 2-1, he's got to wrestle really smart. There we go. Now, advantage there going out of bounds is North Newton's now got to start all the way back down instead of being up, standing up now. He's got to stand back up. So he's got to use that energy once again to get back up. There, Phillip has put a leg in. That's called a leg ride. That takes a lot of practice to be really good at. With just 30 seconds to go, Winamac being up by 1 point, 2-1. An escape ties this thing up, and then we go into overtime. Nobody wants to wrestle overtime. That's more energy, more workout. It's a tired and gruesome thing to go into overtime. Oh, tried to cradle, missed it, but nice scramble and rolling back over and rolling around. Didn't give up back points, didn't give up near fall. Oh, that is a complete...
You didn't like the call on that one.
No, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Phillip was going back after the legs to take him back to the mat and was making a move to keep control of his opponent. Stalling is when you're actively not doing anything. And in that case, Phillip was clearly going back for leg control to keep control of his opponent. Unfortunately, that happens. And it's terrible that it does. But that's where you got to be. That's where the mental part of this game comes in. You've got to mentally be tough enough that ref isn't going to determine whether I win or lose this match.
There's a lot to overcome in a sport like wrestling.
Oh my. And to put this on kids that are young men that are 14, 15, 16 years old, and that kind of mentality, that kind of mindset, that's where experience in the sport really helps out if they started at a young age. And Phillip has held since he's got that leg still, he still has control. There's still no control given to either side. We're still right here neutral. And really, honestly, this, if anything, is a stalemate. I mean, neither wrestler is actually trying to improve their position or has improved their position. Now it's at the end of the first overtime, it's still 2-2. So now we go to a 30-second period where it's continual wrestling. And basically, you got to score more points. You got to get a getaway, a stand-up. You got to hit a reversal. You've got to score more points than your opponent.
Now, when you say continuous wrestling, what do you mean?
It's not sudden death. It's not the first points wins. So if there's near fall scored, or if there's a 3-point near fall, 2-point near fall, if there's a reversal scored, wrestling doesn't stop. You're wrestling for a full 30 seconds. If Phillip just gets his foot out, that should be a reversal. That was awful close. That was awful close. I applaud these two young men. This is a true battle.
I think he's giving him a little more grace, getting back to the circle.
Oh, and it's a fight. He kept on the leg. He kept on his opponent, so he didn't give up any control. That's potentially dangerous. And refs, they've gotten really, really particular about potentially dangerous. They don't want any dislocated knees or broken legs. So anything that looks at a funny angle, they're supposed to err on the side of caution and call a stop to it. Now, if he can lock this cradle up, oh, there we go. Now you sit hip to hip on this near side cradle, and
gonna do another, huh? Both kids exhausted at this point.
Oh yeah. Now this is sudden death.
So first points win.
This is there's gonna be a winner either way. Phillip holds him, we hold him down, we win. If he gets away, they win the match. That's it. Phillip can put a half in right here. Oh, there we go. If he can turn him and get near fall. There we go, reversed it, counting off near fall. That's going to be the match.
Let's give it up for both these wrestlers.
Excellent job on both North Newton and Winamac. Excellent job on fighting at the very end. And that was a huge match. This is actually a sectional matchup. We will see these guys come sectional time in seeding matches.
Versus Alex D'Amiglio.
Now, I know here with Armstrong was actually ranked 11th in the state going into Saturday. I haven't seen new state rankings, but he was the 11th ranked wrestler at 113. We actually decided to bump him up to 120 to wrestle D'Amiglio from North Newton. These two did meet on Saturday at Twin Lakes. Armstrong pulled out a third period pin of D'Amiglio, and this is strictly a strategy move for the team score, is to try to give Winamac a better edge and more points, bump up wrestlers to match who we think we can beat their better wrestlers. And our 120-pounder, Sean Pratt, actually is sitting out. He's not going to wrestle tonight for the team to give Armstrong a chance to bump up and wrestle this gentleman. So strictly a absolute great team mindset there by Sean on giving our senior captain, Jake Armstrong, opportunity to put 6 points on the board for Winamac.
A lot of people think about wrestling as an individual sport, but there is definitely a team component as well.
Oh, yeah. And now the state of Indiana has gone to class wrestling for team state. Your smaller 1- and 2A schools actually have a chance to compete at the state level based on points and criteria. Versus before, many years ago, it was all single class. You'd have your Warren Centrals and Indianapolis Cathedrals just dominating the sport, where your smaller schools like North Newton, Winamac, Pioneer, all of most of the schools in our area really wouldn't have a great chance to make it down to the state tournament. And class has really done that, done the sport a lot of service. And I do have to send out an appreciation to Jake Armstrong. He is, with as many freshmen as we have, and he has been one of the staples of leadership in our wrestling room. He is a state qualifier. That is a huge win for Jake. That's the second pin of that kid in 3 days. That's huge for Jake. Nice job. But he's been an actual staple in our wrestling room of leadership of what these younger underclassmen need to do to get to his level, to be a state qualifying wrestler, semi-state 3 times or 2 times. I've been to state once, and I think has really been great for our kids, our younger kids. This is another freshman, Caleb Good. Excellent scrambler. He loves the headlock. Any match he goes out anymore, we look at him and go, "Are you going to goodie it?"
That's pretty good when you have a a move named after you.
Yeah, he absolutely loves it. We tease him a lot on trying to expand his repertoire on the different moves that he loves. But anytime you can have a 5-point throw like a headlock or a lateral or a body lock being your bread and butter, it's a great thing. He likes it. He's all kinds of smiles when we tease him.
Seems like wrestling, a lot of the things you're talking about, Gary, it seems like wrestling is a lot about culture, the culture you have on the team and in the program. So when you're able to have those kind of relationships with these kids and being able to tease them like that or develop and form those relationships, seems like that's a big part of what Winamac's trying to do here.
It is a huge culture thing. If you don't have adults like Coach Hook, Coach Tankersley, Cullen Day, Coach Day, Coach Addinger over in our Warpath Wrestling Club is actually practicing tonight right here adjacent to the gym. If you don't have adults involved to show these kids that they have support and the love and passion for the sport, you just don't have that involvement. And not to age us any, but you look back at Winamac Wrestling 20 years ago, and we were the feared team. We walked in anywhere, and it was conference championship, sectional championship. We pulled out a regional championship back in single class wrestling. But there it is. That generation of kids is now getting their children involved in the sport and into wrestling, and I think that has a lot to do with the passion and the numbers that you see over there on the Winamac sideline. It's a great thing, and these kids are enjoying themselves.
So a school this size, how many kids are on the wrestling team?
We were sitting at 26, 27, and of that 27, we have 18 freshmen.
Wow.
Total.
So what's a average number for a 1A school similar size to Winamac?
Last year was a pretty average year, and we had 10 kids. We were forfeiting 5 weight classes. It's good. Caleb's in a good battle here. Down 5-2. He's got to get. Let's see how he's tucking his head. You keep your head on the mat. It's kind of hard to do anything if you can't see. He's got to keep his hips backing out. And Caleb works a lot in the practice room with Jake Armstrong, trying to get better. Jake's actually taken Caleb under his wing a little bit and trying to teach him how to get better and to expand his moves other than just a headlock. See here, Caleb's hips are not covered at all. All he had to do was just pop his hips up, and he was up and out. North Newton's doing a good job keeping the ankle trapped. It's kind of hard to move an ankle if it's trapped underneath somebody. Outside lit. And see, this is an excellent opportunity for the guy on bottom. All he's got to do is wait for the whistle and just explode like a bomb. If he can do that, oftentimes you'll catch your opponent off guard. He did a nice Granby there. When he started, he did a Granby. Roll across your shoulders, attempt to get out. North Newton countered it really well. The counter to the Granby is a Granby. You just roll with them. And to keep control, he just rolled right with them. Excellent counter. Nice sit out to a switch. Grabbed inside the leg like you're supposed to. Use that to try to pull yourself around to the back. That was a good mat return. Brought him down, kept control, kept in contact. And when you're on bottom like this, we teach keep your head up, hands up. If you keep your head up off the mat, you're not going to get punished. If you keep your hands up, they can't control your wrist. If you lose wrist control and give up one of your wrists, it's like a three-legged table. Doesn't stand up very well. You'll fall down to one side. And it's always a battle to get back to your base. And in wrestling, your base is going to be just like you start out in what's called referee's position, on your hands and knees, like you do at home when you're crawling on your hands and knees. That's your base. That's where you've got a lot of power and can do most of your moves. North Newton's doing a really good job of keeping his hips right next to Caleb's hips, right next to Goody's hips, covering, keeping the weight, and using his weight to keep him down in spot and control of him. It's tough. It's tough when you got to move yourself, but it's even tougher when you got to move yourself plus another human being that's your same size. That's where that conditioning comes in, being very, very critical that you are working very hard in practice, so that way you have just a little bit of a gas tank to be able to move not only yourself, but your opponents that's about the same size as you. Goody's doing a good job of sitting out, but he was too far out. His butt was too far away from his opponent. So his back, we teach in our wrestling room that you don't want to wrestle with a whole bunch of space. If you have a whole bunch of space and you're overextended, you don't have a whole lot of power. And his butt was just too far out to really do anything effectively. This is an attempt at a tilt called a ball and chain. It's just a quick way to try to get 3-4 points. Nice battle by a freshman. Not giving up 6 points can be huge in the long run. A difference between 3 points and 6 points in the team score. Winamac is probably, I think Winamac has lost the majority of the matches so far, but we're only down by 6 points, which is just one match. That's like only being down by a touchdown. And there's Winamac 6 points to be back to 12. That's Brendan Day, another freshman. Here's a sophomore, Lloyd Lavender, one of our few non-freshman wrestlers. That was a good counter to the headlock. Lloyd tried to throw a headlock. North Newton countered it just by weight. Lloyd's a fighter. He can fight off of his back with the best of them. And that means something when you can fight off of your back and not give up 6 points. I'm not saying that's not going to happen through this match, but at that point, he saved the team giving up a total of 6 points by fighting off his back and not just giving up laying there and calling it quits. And right here, North Newton is doing a really good job of keeping wrist control and putting in what we call a wing, just like a chicken wing. You throw it here, you get wrist control, and then you start walking around his head, and he'll go to his back. I think we've seen earlier, Jake Armstrong actually pinned his opponent in a wing. This not only gives North Newton, but his 3 points near fall, which is the ref will count to 5. You can see his hand with the red. It's kind of got the 3 sitting out. That's signifying that he owes red 3 points. So gives red 3 near fall, and that is a 2 reversal for green. Lloyd does a nice job. This is big for Lloyd. Lloyd is actually a JV wrestler for us who's had to step up since we had a senior step off the team and call it quits this past week. Lloyd has had to step up off the JV team and thrown into the varsity level. And we preach that a lot is good stance. You hear the coaches yell that in the background. Good stance, good hand-head defense. Hand-head defense is keeping your head in front of you, keeping your palms up, and not just opening up your legs to the opponent to do what he wants to. that was a little bit on both sides. North Newton didn't stop wrestling when he heard the whistle. I think this is a little uncalled for. The deduction of 1 team point.
What's he saying right now?
He's telling the head coaches to get control of their teams, and that if this happens again, we'll punish. We'll be even more, and that it's uncalled for. This is not a state competition going on, and if there's going to be any more issues, then those that are creating the problems will be asked to leave. Which some of our, we want to have passion for the sport. We want to have passion for everybody that is wrestling, but we've got to learn to control our passion, and that's what is being said to the people that were involved there on the side. It's just got to keep our emotions under control, and if we can't, we'll come up with some other arrangements. And with this being a sectional matchup, there are some emotions in it, of course. Anytime you go against a sectional opponent in any sport, there's always an extra level of emotion that's involved. Nice tilt, ball and chain. Shouldn't really pin anybody ever out of that. That's just a nice try to get 3-point near fall. He switches to a reverse headlock. And sits to his butt, sits his leg through, keep his weight on the shoulder section. There's not really a whole lot you can do here unless Lloyd has really good bridging ability. He works a lot on being able to have the leg power to push off to one side. Nice fight, nice fight.
At 145 for Winamac, Brody Ruff. For North Newton, Worthington. At 152 for Winamac, Tyler T.P. Perry. For North Newton,
There's Brody. Brody's another freshman for us. Getting a forfeit win. And we have Tyler Perry's another freshman. Did a good shot defense right there. Shot in, kept pressure on the head. See us keeping the arm up off the ground and keeps trying to suck it back. It's a good shot defense. Everybody backs up. We're still neutral. This is where we always tell our wrestlers to fight for wrist control. It's hard to wrestle with just one arm. So if you get wrist control, you can often break their defense down and get access to a leg, get access to underhooks. There was an outside single attempt. Tyler did an excellent job keeping his hips back. This is a hip battle. There we go, both back up. Excellent hips. In that battle, you keep your hips up, you win. And fortunately, they were too close to the edge. Didn't get to see who would finish that one off. It's a constant battle of control. Keeping pressure on your opponent's head, keeping your hips back. Right here, Tyler is doing a really good job of keeping his hips back. If his hips get sucked into his opponent like that, he's in trouble. And gives up 2 for the takedown.
Their coach is pretty animated over there in the corner.
Yeah, he's been around the sport for quite a while. Saturday, when he started off the day, he was going pretty hot and heavy at it, and by lunchtime he didn't have a voice left. But you could hear him clear across the gym at Twin Lakes. You could hear him everywhere.
Which in wrestling, I mean, that's appropriate, right? I mean, to be cranked and excited on the side.
Well, and these kids, they have headgear on. So they actually have headgear that's covering their ears, and it is hard to hear.
I see.
If you don't have a loud-carrying voice, your wrestler isn't going to hear anything that you say.
Interesting.
And that's why a lot of the coaches have these booming voices that will be able to get past their headgear, and so the wrestler can hear them.
So just because they're yelling doesn't mean they're necessarily that much more cranked up. They're trying to get through the headgear.
Exactly. Huh. It's when the coaches get up out of the chair and start dancing around. Yeah, then we're cranked up. And here on bottom, he's doing a good job working back up to his base. He's at his base here, but he's giving up a wrist. He's got to work to get his wrist back so that he can work on his offensive moves and his moves to get away from down on bottom. He's keeping his head out, hands out, up. He's got back up to his base. And North Newton's doing a really good job of continually trapping that arm and keeping control, keeping it back at him, back sucked into his gut. If you've ever tried to turn or do something and you have one hand always in your gut, that's kind of rough. It's kind of tough to get anything done. And this is a wing again, which they've used quite a bit. And I do believe this is a junior. I think this is a junior for North Newton. So just a difference in experience. Part of the growing pains.
For North Newton, forfeit.
And here we go. We got another freshman, Aiden Hartle, taking a forfeit win.
At 170 for Winamac, Jason Tankersley for North Newton.
Here we have one of our sophomores, Jason Tankersley. He's actually bumped from 160 to 170 today to try to get some team points for the team. He's a sophomore on the team. He's an excellent leg rider. He puts legs in, and he can beat opponents that are much stronger than himself because he knows how to leg ride. It's a skill that is very, very dangerous. He learned last year. He got pinned many times by riding too high on the legs and getting sucked under and stuck. It's a high risk, high reward. Excellent reversal back there, just being able to keep his balance and being able to get back. See, there he puts the legs in. And that's the leg ride. You get your legs in around and be able to control your opponent. In a lot of this last year, this is a lot of the spots where Jason would ride really way too high, and his head would get sucked under, and he would get pinned. He's worked a ton over the offseason to be able to tell where his hips are and stay back on his opponents and not be so high, and give up those 6 points and be able to control his opponents a lot better. He looks at 100% different than what he looked last year. This is just, and I'm sure the coach really appreciates Jason stepping up, but he has given up 10 pounds on his opponent. Again, not necessarily for himself. Excellent lateral, excellent lateral. He set that up from the very beginning, was just waiting. That's a 5-point move. He's got the 2 takedown, he's got 3 near fall counting, and hopefully he gets a pin, gets his 6 points out of this. The problem Jason is going to have is just his lack of weight. That extra 10 pounds, there we go. That extra 10 pounds would really help, but that's the experience difference. Jason has wrestled since he was in 5th grade, wrestling at club tournaments, that's a huge win for Jason.
Doug Smith for Winamac. For North Newton, forfeit.
Dakota Smith, this is another freshman for a Winamac team.
Cameron Benish for Winamac. North Newton, forfeit. And at 220 for Winamac, Trevor.
One other thing that the wrestling has done since back in 20 years ago is it's not always starting at the lightest weight. You don't start at 106 anymore and go heavies always have to be last. Before weigh-ins, before the match actually starts, there's a chip that is drawn that the refs bring, and that determines where we start at. So you can start at any one of the weight classes. So it's not always on your heavyweight's shoulders whether you win or lose the match. And today was drawn at 285. So we actually started at heavyweight and then went to 106. So the final weight class will be your 220 weight class of the night. I think that is one of the coolest things. I wrestled 215 in heavyweight back in high school, and it was just so nerve-wracking that every match it seemed like it always came down to you. You had to win, or you had to not get pinned just because you were a bigger wrestler.
Yeah,
it's nice for those little guys to take some of that, away.
That's interesting. Yeah, and having to anticipate that match the whole time, right? Well, you might have buddies that were done for the night, just hanging out, enjoying themselves, and you had that anticipation still coming. Oh, it was killer.
It was killer. Yeah. Trevor is a junior, our only junior on the team. This would be a big win for him if he can pull it out. And Winamac being up, the team score being 41-24, they've locked up the dual meet win as a team, which is huge with the little adjustments that was made by Coach Hook. Bumping Armstrong up, bumping Tankersley up to gain that team win. All of those kids that did a little bit of sacrificing to make that happen, it was for the right reason. Excellent speed. He just turned around, got up, turned around. Now he's got his 1 point. And Trevor's a hard worker in the practice room. He's one of our leaner big guys. One thing, we don't have a ton of big guys, but he's one of our leaner, more agile big guys. He wrestles hard with Dylan Pinacaro and even Coach Hook sometimes. Again, Red deferred, North Newton deferred. They deferred their choice to the second or third period, and almost 90% of the time, a coach will always make the wrestler choose down. That way, they have the ability to get at least 1 point for an escape. You always want to give your wrestler a chance to get points, and he's proved already that he can get away from this kid. So it shouldn't be a problem for him to get at least one more point. If not two, if you can work it right. At your heavier weights like this, you have a lot of different moves that work really well for you. You have, when you suck that arm over the top of you and you pop your hips up, because you're a lot bigger, your opponent will just fall off of you. And you can get a reversal real quick. Whereas when you're 120, 130 pounds, that doesn't quite work so well. Another move that's really good is what we call a jelly roll. And with the big guys, it works because there's a lot more circumference around them there. And it's hooking an elbow and just rolling. And Trevor, at this point, really needs to get his hips up. If he gets his hips up, he won't roll. He won't get rolled to his back. His hips aren't even covered. A perfect opportunity just to get his hips up. It takes a lot to hold back, not to try to yell that at him, too. North Newton's done a good job of sticking with the move, sticking with this mummy, and trying to get him wrapped up and get him over. But at this point, he's way too far. He's way too high. Nothing's really going to happen. Nice give up and get back behind and start over. Now Trevor works back to his base. Now he needs to get his head up. There we go. Head up, leg up, Just stand right up. I don't know. Now he needs to get his head back up again. And when he stood up, instead of just reaching around and grabbing a leg, if he reaches inside that leg and then turns into him, he's going to fall on top of his opponent, and he's going to get a 2-point reversal, possibly a pin or 3-point near fall on. But when they reach outside, you can't turn into your opponent like that.
Wrestling's all about leverage and angles and kind of the physics of kind of how you position yourself.
Oh, it's a huge mental sport. You have to know what's going to happen. You have to know just little tweaks here and there can make a huge difference on what your body's going to do when you go back to the mat, or how an opponent will turn to his back. If you don't know that, you could miss just by a little bit and end up going to your back, and it's over. Trevor hits a nice cradle, hooked it up, sits back. I think he's too far underneath to actually get a pin out of it, but he should be counting off his near fall. I don't know why he didn't count off the near fall. Oh, there he goes. Yeah, you see on that green hand, the hand that's got the green wristband on it, he's got the 3 out again. So he owes 3 points to green for near fall. Now what Trevor should do right here is get his hips a little bit out further, and that knee that is on the ground, he needs to put into the side, his rib cage, so he can get out from underneath his opponent, and the goal, get their shoulders on the mat. He does that, gets out from underneath, and puts more pressure down on top of his opponent to be able to get his shoulders down to the mat. Lost his grip, he got reversed. 37 seconds is a long time to have to fight, especially when you've been fighting so hard. It's hard to fight. He's got his arm out. He should be able to get back to his stomach now. There we go. So Trevor got 3 points near fall, but then North Newton's going to get 2-point reversal and an additional 3 points of near fall because he turned around and had Trevor exposed to his back for more than 5 seconds. And it's a full 5 count from the ref. If they only get to a 2 count, 3 count, that's only 2 points near fall instead of 3.
Now from a team scoring perspective, it's better to get beat by points than by a pin.
Absolutely. Trevor not giving up the pin right there limits North Newton to only getting 3 team points instead of a full 6 points, which is it can be a huge swing in a close match. When we've had a couple of matches this year that we only won by 3 points, or we lost by 1 point or 2 points, and any one of your matches go a different way. It can be a huge swing in how a match goes. So overall, this is an excellent win for Winamac. Final score being 41-27. With the amount of freshmen that's in the lineup, and this is a North Newton team that beat a bigger school like Gavitt earlier in the year, and huge win for Winamac, especially going into sectional time against a sectional opponent. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome to have a big win like that.
Gary, I sure appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me tonight, man. I learned a lot from you and thought this was a good time. So. Oh,
absolutely. I had fun, and I think it's I appreciate you guys coming out and spotlighting the wrestling program, not just here at Winamac, but getting wrestling out there to anybody that might be interested in it. Just it's huge, any kind of exposure we can get, and we really do appreciate it.
Yeah, and this is a program that's up and coming. There's a lot of exciting things happening here. And
oh, yeah, absolutely. There's 43 kids that was in Warpath Wrestling Club. That is from elementary school up to the middle school age. So it's something that the excitement is coming.
Awesome. Very cool. Gary, I sure appreciate you being with us tonight.
Absolutely.